This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everyone. This is Lynn Price at Comdata, and I certainly appreciate you attending our session today. We're going to be discussing Comdata's new OneLook product, which is a fairly recent addition to our suite of products. It's a very exciting tool. It's got a lot of analytics. They're very easy to understand, and we hope that they will be very beneficial to you and your fleet in operating your business and maximizing efficiencies. So I'm just going to do a tour around the page here so that you can kind of familiarize yourself with some of the controls. Up at the top, we have a date range. So if you would like to change the date range, it's a 2-year date range. It's a rolling 2-year date range. You can do that. I've selected the month of April just to give us a month's worth of data so that we can do a little dive into how the data is organized. So obviously we're at the home screen. You can see that up here as well. If you want to go to any of these dashboards from the top screen, you can certainly do that by selecting the dashboard name at the top. Across the top of your screen, it will give you some categories. This is total spend, so this is how many dollars you spent for the month of April. Gallons amount, so you can see how many gallons you have purchased during the month. Net PPG is $2.59, which is fairly great compared to the fuel prices that we've seen here lately. And then there is a discount that the account has received of $700,000 plus change. So each of these on the left-hand side of your screen are considered dashboards, and there are multiple dashboards, and we'll look into most of them on our demonstration today. I'm going to ask you to please mute your phones, and so we'll take questions at the end if there are any. This right here on the left-hand side is what we call a heat map of where fueling is most prevalent. If there's a dot in it, that means you have purchased some sort of fuel there. If you don't like this map, we have other ways to view this data. And in this case, you can view it as a table. In any of these dashlets, typically there are multiple ways to look at the data. You also have the ability to either make it a printable PDF, which looks similar to what you see on the screen, or you can export the data to Excel, and you can further manipulate it using that. Obviously, you can increase or decrease the size of your map, and then this view here with the 4 little arrows gives you a bigger view of any of the dashlets. So the dashlets are considered any one of the little frames that you see, and in order to minimize it, you just go back down here. All right, so additionally, we have got a dashlet over here that shows you the net price per gallon that you're paying, and we've got a rolling 2-year history here. In 2019 and 2021, it looks like you're paying about the same amount. If you'd like to see what you were paying in 2019 but not in 2021, just hit the graph button there, and it will remove the year that you selected. So I'm going to put that back for you. So you can see in 2020, obviously, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, fuel prices were lower than they were in the current year and the year before. So this gives you a trend line of where your discounts are coming into play. And then we've got some additional information down here about merchants and gallons. And so over here on the very left, you have got the merchants that typically make up the majority of your gallons. So in this case, there's a bunch of gallons, 780,000 at Pilot Travel Centers, then followed by Loves. Then you've got some independents. And independents just typically are the most costly option for you and your company. And so The suggestion here would be to look at your independent gallons in a much more detailed way and see if there are options either by negotiating with the location itself, or if you can get maybe there's a pilot across the way. You can direct your drivers to that pilot location versus the more expensive independents. And then 7-Eleven typically, obviously, is a retail location, and so there's 10,000 gallons that are being put through there. Here, you can see that the Love's site is the top site that is used by most of these drivers. And so it will give you all of this information. If you hover over the bar, then you can see the location. And again, you can go here and export this data into Excel. So that might be a little easier option in order to manipulate the data. And then I'm going to go over here, and the average gallon fill is typically, it looks like it's about 65 gallons. And so in 2021 in May, it looks like the gallons have been increased to 74 gallons. So again, if you hover over these, they will give you the options for you to see the data itself. All right, now I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to select the spend dashboard. And this dashboard gives you a little bit more detail about where your spend dollars and the types of dollars that you're spending. So for instance, excuse me, the trend analysis for total spend dollars, you can see it's tipping up in 2021, which is a good thing because that means hopefully that business is a little bit more normalized than it has been in 2020. If you look over here at the trend analysis gallons, there are more gallons purchased, which again probably supports the fact that the business is increasing. If you come down here, again, hover over these marks, you can see that you've spent 29 plus change, $2,945,000 in diesel costs. You have some DEF, and it's not enough really to give me a line here. But over here, you can see that 318 gallons of gas has been purchased. Now, your fleet may not have gas purchases allowed. So if that's the case, then you're going to want to dig in and find out where these fuel gallons are for gas, what units or drivers have actually purchased gasoline. And then if you come down here, you've got two more graphs that show the fuel purchases versus non-fuel purchases by month. So these bars, the horizontal bars show you how many gallons you purchased, and then this blue line graph shows you the dollars that were spent. Hopefully that makes a good visual for you. And you can see here that the graph in March went up, and then in April it was down just a little bit. And so because this is just starting in May, obviously that line graph is going to be minor. Now here, on the left-hand side with the top account name, if your account has multiple sub-accounts, or what Comdata's language is customer ID, then this is going to be a good section for you in order to see spend by sub-account. So for instance, you may have multiple regions or districts, which is how Comdata has helped you break out your business. And so this gives you an option to look at this data in more of a numbers format. I'm going to kind of show you here the differences. You've got your net PPG and you've got your discount amount. So there's a big discrepancy between discounts, and that may be because it's obvious that this cust ID is not fueling near as much as this one. In fact, it's probably a tenth of what it is. This is a very interesting statistic for you on the net of state tax PPG, because this allows you, and this is more of an aggregate here, but in transactions themselves, you can see where the net of state tax PPG really helps make fueling decisions, because let's say you're in Illinois and you got enough fuel to get across a border. Illinois probably has one of the highest state taxes. So if you can make it to the bordering state, you're going to pay a lesser price. Also, here's just average discounts per gallon, the number of transactions, and this is the average fill that this particular customer has. All right, so we're going to move on to the next little dashboard, and that is our merchant category. Now, this is a very interesting category in that you can really pinpoint and drill down to where you want to see that your fuel business takes you. And so you see here on the state map that the dollars are kind of spread out across the United States, with a big boom in Florida, which is actually the headquarters. And you can see over here the top 100 merchants. This little drill bit here allows you to produce a lot of details in all merchants instead of just the top 100 merchants. So if you want all merchants, then you would hit this paper clip here. Okay, so as we were explaining earlier, your independents probably are going to be where your most cost is for fuel. So let's take a deeper dive and select independent. And one thing, let me just back up here when we go. If you see this little blue triangle, that is telling you where the sort criteria is being defined. So if you wanted to change it to gallons, you just select one of these, and you can make the arrow go up or down, less or more. And over here, you'll see that we've turned on this filter, okay? And let's go down here, and this will tell you your independence and where you're fueling and perhaps spending more money than you need to. As you can see here, there is 0 discounts being applied to all of these locations. And so at Pars Chevron in Demopolis, Alabama, this customer might want to go talk to the station owner or the station manager and ask for some discount dollars. This is a lot of gallons, and historically you could probably go back 6 months to a year and say, hey, Mr. Pars Chevron, I have actually put through X number of gallons in this time frame, and I think that's worth some business on my part. So again, this is just a really handy tool. And I'm going to minimize this. And then again, you've got the spend discount, the spend and the gallons by fuel type. And then this will show you the trend analysis for these 3 years, where you're seeing how many gallons you've actually purchased. As you can see here in 2019, those gallons in July and August were higher than they were in 2020. And of course, the pandemic has borne us out. So here it looks like they're starting to recover. All right, so I'm going to turn off this filter here. There are other filters here at the top. And as you can see, we've got the account name and the customer ID. We've got merchant type, which shows you if you have mobile fuel for your location, or you want to just select retail fuel. You don't want to look at Comdata proprietary fuel. So the other one, if you want to go by chain name, if you want to look at all the pilots, the Petros, etc., there's a lot of options in here. So this one I typically don't use. The site, if you want to look at states only, there's a merchant category which says the MasterCard purchases either outside at the pump or inside the store. The next one is fuel versus non-fuel. So You can look and separate out your non-fuel if you don't want to look at that particular filter. And then product category, you can just look at a particular kind of fuel. If that, so for instance, if you want to look at DEF, a lot of companies have a policy about DEF. And then product subcategory, I typically don't use, but billing type. So if you want to know if the transactions, if you want to segregate them between proprietary and MasterCard or FleetNet. So those are some additional options for you. The hierarchy information is usually for MasterCard fleet customers if they have defined hierarchies within their structure. So they may have like a district and then a region and then a store. So that's just to allow them to look at the bigger categories. Okay, so we've looked at merchant, and now we're going to go to the driver category. This is a very interesting, what we call a scatter plot. And this will show you very quickly the drivers who are outside the norm of fueling. And when I say norm, I mean they are not clustered within all of these people who are fueling. And if you click on the dot, you can see the spend, the number of transactions, and the person's name. So for instance, up here, you've got a guy who's got 33 transactions. He spent almost $10,500 in the month of April. So that might ring a bell for somebody to take a look and see what type of fueling pattern he has. That may be a perfectly normal fueling pattern, but it shows you visually really quickly who is outside the norm. And this again is one of those files that you can export, and you can see exactly how to massage that data. Now we're going to go down here. Again, you can see the fuel versus non-fuel spend. And then as we go down here, you'll be able to see the drivers. Again, remember that little blue arrow, that's going to show you the number of total transactions. But let's say I want to come over here and do the spend, and I'm going to select this as my filter. And of course, I always do it the wrong way. And so you can see that these are your highest dollar amounts in terms of spend. Again, you've got a driver with a net PPG. His is a little higher than the rest of them with this exception. This person might be fueling in California, you just don't know. So, and then if you scroll down here, you'll see the top 100 vehicle report. So you know that these vehicles have done this amount of fuelings. Okay. Now, discounts, we kind of see discounts scattered around some of these other dashboards, but I'll just take you there really quick to show you what this is. This is a really good one here, that shows you how much discount is being administered by the fuel provider. So it obviously Pilot is the biggest one, and then Love's is the second one. And so you can also see in this heat map that the most discounts are coming from Florida. And then here you can see that in this particular case there's only 2 customer IDs, but you can see that these are I'm sorry, excuse me. These are the discount amounts for these 2 IDs. Okay. Then let's go to PPG. You know, you can see that in other ones. Closer Look is one that gives you a rolling 100-day average. And you can see, again, the spend and the discount amounts up here. The spend by product type, again, you've got these down here, and your drivers. So the interesting graph here is exception transaction counts. So if you had premium fuel in this cell here, and you didn't allow premium fuel purchases, then this would be something that you would probably want to investigate. All right, and then you can see the non-fuel, the non-diesel fuel, if they've purchased inside the store, if they've potentially got an invalid odometer, and then a forced posted transaction. So that's where that falls into. And then our last dashboard is benchmarking. This is a way to show you visually how your company stacks up against like-sized companies in the industry. And so you've got some choices up here at the top. You can select either diesel or gas. You want to benchmark diesel or gas, and I'm going to bench diesel since this is the majority of the spend here. You can also select state so that you can see how you stack up against like companies in a state. You can select your pad. Pads are, they're a diagram down here that shows you where the pads are. Obviously, pad 5, which includes California and landlocked Hawaii and Alaska, that's going to be a higher price. So that's just a little diagram for you. And then here's really where you want to select the size of your market. So because this company has more than 1 million gallons a month, we'll select enterprise and then select the apply button. And so here, it will tell you on a rolling 13 months how you have done versus the market. So market retail, market truck stop retail, and market truck stop costs are really a strategy for defining OPIS priced fuel. So your truck stop cost, hopefully you're beating that, and this company is, their net PPG is $2.59. And so the lowest price fuel is truck stop cost, and then proprietary net cost, which is the Comdata cost when companies are fueling within our network. And so you can see that this is a really good fuel strategy, and this company has really maximized their discounts and their fuel pricing. So then down here, it shows you the top cities by gallon allotment. So this is where the company has spent the most fuel. And again, you can blow these up and you can export them. Come on. Well, it doesn't like that. Here we go. So hopefully you have found this to be a productive session. You can certainly call your account manager or your sales or marketing person if you have additional questions. If you'd like some help to get in and dive into your fueling strategies, we are certainly always available here at Comdata to help. So thank you for your time and have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.